What's up, everyone? Welcome back to episode 5 of the BamaCollegeTake. I'm your host, Jackson Tingle, and in today's episode, we're going to break down the South Carolina game from 2 weeks ago. We had about a bye week, so no episode then, and then we're going to do some film breakdown from that game also, and then have our game day pick'ems with our guest picker this weekend, and kind of touch on the LSU game after that. So before we get started with today's episode, though, just a couple things to note. Bama basketball kicked their season off versus North Dakota on Thursday, November 4th, and got a win there. So good start to the season with the win. Other than that, the only thing of note is the Dre Kirkpatrick Jr. situation. Dre's been indefinitely suspended from the team by Coach DeBoer after some questionable actions that he did. He did turn himself in to the police, though, so I did learn that. But other than that, let's get into today's episode. All right, welcome to the South Carolina breakdown. I'm going to try to keep it quick and short and easy to the best of my ability, and then get into the film breakdown. We somehow, some way, survived Cocktober. We survived it. We went in there and got out with a W. Wasn't pretty by all means, but nonetheless, we got a win. So we somehow, some way survived Cocktober. I said it was going to be a trap game in last week's episode. Turned out to be true because it kind of was a trap game. 20. I think it was 20. Was it 22-14 going in the or I don't know. It was very close in the fourth quarter. I can't remember. It's been 2 weeks. But Jeremy Bernard scored the game-winning touchdown with 34 seconds remaining. We collectively had 13 points on 2 South Carolina turnovers. And I'm going to say this statistic with a very minute detail that I'm going to say twice to make sure you hear me. South Carolina was held to just 2.3 yards per rushing attempt on non-Lenoris Seller runs. I'll say it again, on non-Lenoris Seller runs. So when Lenoris Sellers did not run the football, our defense was incredible versus the run. But we got to clean up some things versus, dual threat, quarterback second run the football. Bama had 6 pass catchers with multiple receptions, and if I'm not going to show the South Carolina part of this, but if I did, what you would see is that we were very close on the stat sheet. Bama had 253 yards passing. South Carolina had 222 passing yards. We only had 72 rush yards, whereas South Carolina had 111. So they beat us up front. They beat us in the trenches in the run game. So we got to clean up that, get better at that. But overall, I'm going to go through individual scores here in a minute. But overall, just huge credit to this team for winning this game because, like I said, it was a huge trap game. But college football, there's a lot more to college football now. It's a much more condensed and denser style in college football nowadays. It's changed. Okay, college football has changed. And no better team exemplifies that than Alabama right now. Alabama, we've changed a lot. We win critical games, and it doesn't matter the score. It doesn't matter if it's 42-7, 29-22 like it was in this game, because college football it's just changed. So as long as you get out with the win, really, not much else matters. Some of it matters, but not much. As long as you get a win. So just credit to the team for that. Just because we win in critical games. So now let's just go through these stats. Ty Simpson, wasn't his best game by all means, but he still looked great. We needed two scores and 2 scoring drives in the fourth quarter to win the game, and he led them. So maybe a Heisman moment there. Depending on how the rest of the season goes. But 24 for 43 could have been better on some reads. 253 yards, 2 touchdowns. QBR 78.5. With Ty this game, I'm gonna go I'm gonna go. I hate to go B plus, so I'm gonna go A minus. Ty's been good. He looked good this game, and he led those two drives at the end of the game. So I'm gonna go A minus. Rushing. Do I really even need to like? Is it even worth my time to go over the rushing stats from this game? Um, we got to be able to run the football. Really the best running like not even like good running the football. Just best running back was Daniel Hill. He kind of stepped up, but it was kind of more in the passing game. It wasn't even running the football. So we got to get better at running the football. Jam Miller kind of looked slow that game. Still kind of coming back from that injury, I think. So we got to get better because, that Vanderbilt game, he looked really good. Missouri, he looked really good. And then he got that injury and, late versus Missouri. And then now Tennessee and South Carolina, he didn't really look that great. So hopefully after this bye week, our running game is going to be on it. Because I'll get more on it later, but it's going to be pretty important versus LSU. We need to have a much better day running the football. So running back room or just rushers in general this game, I'm gonna go C plus. Wasn't great, was not good at all. Receivers, like I said, Daniel Hill played a much bigger role in receiving in the pass game than he did running the football, and he's a running back, and he did better than any of our other actual receivers. Ryan Williams had a pretty good day. A couple of drop passes, I believe, so still got to clean that up. German Bernard, you like this stat sheet. If you looked at it, German Bernard, it doesn't really reflect the game that he had. 5 receptions for 54 yards. You would not think that's good, but Ryan Williams wasn't great. Lashir Brooks was out. Isaiah Horton was out. And we needed Jeremy Bernard, and there he was. He stepped up, had 2 touchdowns. That one late that secured the game. And just another thing I want to credit this team to. Like I said, the run game was awful, really, not existent at all. But some teams in the country, their offense when they can't run the football, they just shut down. But Alabama, we're still able to function and function at a high level at that. We don't just shut down because we can't run the football. We still find a way. We still compete and find a way. But we have the 112th ranked rushing offense in the nation. So we gotta get better. Just bottom line, gotta get better. That 112th is just poor. You got to be better, but still credit because we're still finding a way. And that's, like I said, in college football today, that's really all that matters. So, offensive player of the week, I'm gonna go with Jeremy Bernard because he had those 2 touchdowns and that one, critical one late, and he kind of stepped up as a leader. So let's go on to defense now. Defense, I thought defense had a pretty good day. Bray Hubbard, had the most tackles. Justin Jefferson, or not Justin Jefferson, where is he? Deshaun Jones. Deshaun Jones had a pick 6. Justin Jefferson had a pretty good day. Nakai Hillgreen had he had a good day, but there was a couple missed tackles he should have made. And then Deontay Lawson came up huge at the end with that forced fumble there. And just to kind of save time for today's episode, I'm not going to spend too much on defense like I normally do. But a lot of guys, getting playing time, rotating in on defense. So our defense looked pretty stout. But again, not dominant. But as long as the other team doesn't score more than you, college football has changed, so it doesn't matter. It kind of matters. Not really, because you still won the football game. But, defensive player of the week this week, I'm going to go Deontay Lawson. He had that huge forced fumble at the end of the game. As also one pass deflection there, as you see. But that forced fumble at the end of the game was huge. Really the whole reason we won the game there late. So just shout out D-Law for, getting a forced fumble late. and we're going to look at that later in the film. Also, before I get into that, the film, normally it's the good, the bad, the ugly. Good piece of film, bad piece of film, ugly piece of film. Today, I think obviously I'm going to hit on the good is going to be the Deontay Lawson forced fumble because I want to look at that. But other than that, I don't know if I'm going to do – I think what I'm going to do is like skim to a part of the video and just blindly react to it. I don't really have anything written down, so I'm just going to pick a piece of footage and just talk about it. So with that being said, let's get into the film breakdown next, and then after that, we're going to have our pick'ems. All right, welcome to the South Carolina film breakdown. This is going to be the good right here. Let me go ahead and pause it. So obviously this is going to be the Deontay Lawson forced fumble like I hinted at earlier. Just a couple things I want to point out. Really good job by Tim Keenan. Right here, watch Tim Keenan just standing the ball carrier up, and because he stood him up, Deontay Lawson, like, you're in practice when somebody stands a guy up like that. More times than not, the referee's going to blow the whistle, even if you don't bring them like down to the ground and tackle them. As long as you stand them up and stop their motion, it's there for it's a certain amount of time. I can't remember it off the top of my head, but as long as they're there for a certain amount of time, they're going to blow the whistle. So what the other guys are taught to do in practice when a guy is stood up like that is to run in and like either punch the football or wrap their hand around it and just rip it out of the ball carrier's hand. And that's exactly what happens here. Tim Keenan does a good job of standing this guy up, and then Deontay Lawson comes in and just rips it. Just rips the ball out, and then he's like, nobody really noticed. And then like Deontay Lawson like tells Tim Keenan like, yo, hey man, the football is like, you're on it. You're on the football. Watch it right here. He rips it out, knees not down, and then like Tim Keenan just kind of falls on it. And he's like, he doesn't know. He's like, hey, the football. And so then Tim Keenan gets the fumble recovery there, and that completely changed this game. Huge play. Credit to the defense on that one. Probably wouldn't have won the game without it. So now I don't know if I'm going to do a bad play or an ugly play. I'm really just going to skim in this video, pick a point, and just blindly react to it. Just kind of switch it up this week because I don't really have anything planned for it. I'm also kind of tired, so I'm trying to go kind of quick. But so yeah, that was a really good play by Deontay Lawson. Okay, welcome to the blind react, film section of it. I think I'm going to try to do like one defensive piece of film and one offensive piece of film. So let's see what we got here. Okay, great play by Bray Hubbard there. Great play. Let's see how the defensive line does here. Let's see. Field play. Okay, there we go. Okay, kind of a nasty little scheme here by Kane Womack. If you watch, I think this is Landon Simmons right here. I'm gonna pause it. Try to go back and pause this. I'm all over the place right here. Okay, right here. I think that's Landon Simmons, true freshman. Yanze Pierre getting a good jump off the ball. Whoever this is, I can't really tell. Getting a great jump off the ball. And then kind of just like a nice little trying to like throw the offensive lineman's blocking schemes up here. Landon Simmons kind of just he acts like they're it's a straight up bull rush, and then he kind of brings himself around, try to get some pressure. Let's see here. Good job by Xavier Brown right there. You don't want to you'd rather give this route up, the 2 to 3 yard route, rather than this deep route here. So good job by him, because he passes him off to Dijon Lee here eventually, but he doesn't allow this pocket, this opening here at first. He lets, because you can always work your way back to the ball first, and then kind of same. I bet Bray Hubbard kind of stems this receiver at first, kind of pushes him. Let's see. No, he kind of just sits back. He's just a good job of reading the quarterback. Really, he just didn't even touch anybody. Simple little, comeback route. I don't really know what they were running. What Mike Shula, who is no longer the offensive coordinator at South Carolina, was trying to do there. But Norris just tried to zip it in right there. And honestly, if Bray lets that go, it's probably picked off by Xavier Mincy. Yeah, Xavier Mincy there, but nonetheless, still a great play from Bray there. He's looked phenomenal since the Florida State game. Really picked it up. So yeah, now I'm gonna try to just skim through and find an offensive play, and I'm not even watching it at first, as you can tell. I'm kind of just letting it play and just talking about it. But so yeah, let me try to find an offensive one now. All right, let's break down this little piece here just really quick, and then after this we're gonna get into our game day pick'ems with our guest picker. Give me a nice sip of water there. Let's see. All right, so see what kind of set we got first. Is anybody in the backfield? Yes, you can't see it over here, but on my screen to the right, we got Daniel Hill, and then we got it kind of like a triangle, like a trio trips formation here with the receivers, and then the tight end lined up kind of tight down in the slot. He's eligible. He's eligible because he's the only receiver over there, and Caden Proctor's kind of off. So let's just kind of see what happens here. Got to block better. Oh, okay. All right. Okay, yeah. I remember this run from Daniel Hill. Great run. So okay. Let's break down the blocking right here. Got to do a better job. Give Ty more time. Caden Proctor kind of gets beat. I think that might be Dylan Stewart, who's a phenomenal edge rusher, probably the best in the country. So, it is what it is. But, Caden Proctor is also one of the best offensive linemen in the country. So they say. So he's got to do a better job. Parker Brailsford also kind of like let his guy come through here. Yeah, kind of. So, but you got to give Ty more time there. But watch Daniel Hill. Like, Daniel Hill comes out. He's supposed to just come in on a simple flat route. And be the check down, like the last read. But he does a good job. Like, you can see there, I'm going to try to pause it, like, perfectly. He sees that Ty, like, okay, if you watch him, he notices that Ty is about to scramble out of the pocket, that he's getting pressured, and he's about to kind of take off the run. And what, they're taught, running backs are taught to do in this situation is if you're not open, like he's not open right here, or else, Ty would throw it to him. So if he's not open, just keep running downfield until either you get open or the running quarterback takes off and you block somebody. So like he looks, you see him look right there. He looked, and then he's like, okay, this guy's coming forward, try to tackle Ty because he's about to take off. Ty sees him, commit, and then boom, Daniel Hill's open, and then breaks tackle. He's such a hard guy to tackle. I've loved what I've been seeing from Daniel Hill lately. So great play there. I'm glad we saw that one. That was a really good play. I just kind of skimmed through and picked one, so that was really good. But yeah, that's all I got. Like I said, I'm trying to make it quick. A lot going on. So now let's. Everyone's favorite part is our game day pick'ems with our guest picker. So let's get into it. All right, welcome to our game day pick'em section of the podcast. We're here with our special guest picker this week, Mr. Wesley Davis. How you doing, Wesley?
I'm doing fantastic, Tingle. Thank you for having me. I'm really excited to get some picks in. Let's go.
All right, that's great. Wesley is a member of the lacrosse team here. Did you play? You played football in high school, right?
Yep.
Okay, yeah.
Yep.
So I mean, you know a little ball.
I know ball.
Before we get started, though, I do want to give a shout out to one of our a special listener out there. We're going to do a fan of the week each week. The fan of the week this week is Mr. Landon Thomas Brewski. So shout out to Mr. Brewski. We appreciate you watching. Yeah. All right.
Well deserved.
Yep. All right. Without further ado, let's get into our first game here. It's Mississippi State Bulldogs versus the Georgia Bulldogs. It's at Mississippi State. Georgia didn't play great versus Florida, but they somehow always find a way. Whether that's the referees help them out, something they always find a way. Kind of like they did versus Auburn. And I think that this week they're kind of going to regroup and play a much better game this week on the road. And Mississippi State, they finally got their first road win in the SEC, or not road win, just SEC win in general in their last 16 SEC games. They haven't won an SEC game since 2023, since last weekend. But it was Arkansas. Not much else to say here. I've got Georgia in this one. I think they're just, too powerful. So give me Georgia in this one.
Yeah, Tingle, you covered a lot of the points there. I also wrote about that Florida victory. Not a pretty win. Same with that Auburn one. The clapping, refs love that help there. But
Right.
I think for them to make a push in this playoffs, this is a game where they need to come out strong and they really need to dominate, and I do think they will. So I got the Bulldogs, Georgia Bulldogs as well.
That's right. Yeah, got to clarify. Big Bulldog matchup there. All right, next game we got Texas Tech BYU. This is actually some are saying the biggest game of the weekend. College Game Day is going there. Josh Pate's going to be there. This is the first time College Game Day will be in at Texas Tech since the Michael Crabtree touchdown versus Texas circa 2008. Real ball knowers know what I'm talking about. That was a crazy game. I was 3 years old. How old were you, Wesley, in 2008?
I was 2.
2? Okay. So, yeah, Texas Tech has the number one run defense in the country. Their defensive line is scary. I think I've said it in a couple past episodes, but they had a defensive line that was really good last year, and most of those guys came back. And now those guys are like 2 to 3 on their depth chart because they went into the transfer portal and got even more guys on their defensive line. So they get big money over there at Texas Tech, and it's paid off so far. Baron Morton, their quarterback, if he's healthy, if he's going to go, is going to play a big factor. He's got 1,700 pass yards with 15 touchdowns, and he's looked great. Texas Tech, they're also second in takeaways in the country. So this is really a chance for BYU to make a culture statement in this game, and kind of to prove everyone that people were saying they're overrated. People were saying they don't deserve to be ranked as high as they are. They're first in the Big 12, and this is kind of a game for them to prove everyone wrong and to prove to everyone that they're legit, including me, because I've got Texas Tech in this one. I think the money they spent was insane, and it's paid off, like I said. So I've got the Red Raiders, former college of Patrick Mahomes, by the way.
Yeah, Tim, I'm right there with you. I am one of those BYU non-believers. Hate to admit it, but I just think that Texas Tech, that offense is great, that defense is fantastic. Any week they can dominate you on either side of the ball.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to happen this weekend. The only loss this year is to, in my opinion, a really good ASU team. And so I think they're going to keep cruising. BYU is on a tear though, with wins against Arizona, Utah, and Iowa State all in a row. But yeah. I do think that streak stops against the Texas Tech Red Raiders.
Yeah. Also something to know that could be a factor. I think Texas Tech, this is like their 7th game in a row, and BYU's coming off a bye week. But regardless, I've still got Texas Tech in this one. Like you said, I like how you put it. They're kind of a threat on both sides of the ball there with Baron Morton, like I said, and then that defense in takeaways and in the trenches. They're pretty deep. All right, moving on. Let's go to Missouri, Texas A&M. This is another ranked game in the SEC. Just life in the SEC these days. The spread's A&M 7.5. Missouri, they don't have Bo Prabula. Their starting quarterback's out, and then their backup quarterback got hurt preseason, so they're down to their third-string quarterback. Matt Zollers is his name. I think he was a 4-star recruit. I don't know if he's a true freshman. I didn't really look into him. But Texas A&M, they're going in the DeComo undefeated, and I think they walk out the same. I've got the Aggies in this one. They're just too dominant. They're on another team that's on a roll. And with Missouri's third-string quarterback, I think if it was their backup, it is one story, but their third-string is a different story. So I've got the Aggies.
Yeah, Zollers, I did look into him a little bit. He was, like you said, high recruit, that 4-star. I think he's got some high potential. It's early in his career. It's going to be his second start now after Prabula got hurt. But, he's got all the things you kind of want in a quarterback. He's 6'3". He's got a strong arm, good game manager. But I just think that A&M team is just going to be too much for Zollers. So I got A&M in this one.
Yep, I agree. How How are you feeling, Wes? I feel pretty tired. I'm not gonna lie. Do I
It's
sound
been a
like?
long. It's been a long week. I had a speech this morning and a test. It's been
Yeah,
a long week.
yeah. It's been a long week. I like. I don't. I kind of feel like I'm giving off like my thought process there, but it's kind of like not translating. You know. But if it wasn't hard, it wouldn't be worth doing it. Is what some people say.
Oh, of
Um,
course, dude.
I think. I think.
Road to a million.
Yeah. A really wise person told me that. I think his name was Cole Pearson. Yeah,
Okay.
I don't know if you
Former
know Cole.
guest. Former guest.
I don't know if you know him, but pretty wise guy there, pretty motivated. All right. Anyway, let's just keep moving since we're tired. Kind of keep it brief and quick. We got Auburn versus Vandy. Auburn could have that emotional bump that some teams have. LSU could also be another team that has it. They could also have that emotional bump since firing their head coach Hugh Freeze. And Clark Lee and Diego Pavia, they've turned Vanderbilt around. This isn't your dad or your grandpa's Vanderbilt. This is completely different. And they've also kind of had Auburn's number over the past couple of years, especially Pavia because he beat him when he was at New Mexico, the quarterback there. And Vanderbilt, they almost came out with the win versus Texas. Kind of came back there at the end. And I think they're going to kind of use that as kind of a motivation, kind of rat poison. And also, I just hate Auburn, so I'm going with the Commodores in this one. Also, one thing I want to add before I move it on to US is, all the coaching, the coaching carousel going on right now. Penn State, I think Clark Lee, the head coach at Vanderbilt, I think that's a name to look at there.
To go to Penn.
Yeah, to go to Penn State. So if it happens, refer back to this video by all means.
Well, I love how you say you didn't do as much research as you wanted, but you pull out that New Mexico fact. I did not know that.
You didn't know that?
That's pretty cool.
Well, I'm just an Auburn hater. So like they lost like California. They missed like the game-winning field goal in that game. Like anytime they lose to like a team they shouldn't. Yeah. But anyway,
I like it. I wrote about. I don't think anybody from inside this Auburn team's organization has any chance of being a winning program. I think they got to clear house. They really got to hit the reset button on this this program. That defense though, that can win them games.
That is.
I don't think this game's gonna be one of. Yeah, I don't think this game's gonna be one of them. I think Vandy does it again, but that defense does pose a big threat. I don't think Vandy's going to make the playoffs, in all honesty.
Oh, really?
So, if for that to happen, I think they got to lose one more time. If it's this, that's not the biggest shock in the world, but I still got the Commodores with this one.
Yeah. All right. Second to last game here, we got Iowa versus Oregon. Number 6 Iowa. Going to, I'm sorry, number 6 Oregon going to Iowa. Spreads Oregon 6.5. I don't know how much research you've done for this game, Wes. I've done a little bit because
I got a good amount.
You did a good amount. Well, the weather for this game is going to be absolutely terrible. It's going to be cold. It's going to be rainy. It's going to be windy.
Iowa weather right there.
Yeah. The reason I did a little bit more research for this game is because I haven't picked an underdog yet this week. I always try to pick one underdog. Normally it's the home team also. So I've got Iowa. With that weather being a factor, and Iowa's defense, they actually rank second nationally. I think it's Ohio State. ESPN has it, Ohio State, Iowa, with the best defenses nationally in total defense. So I think if Iowa can execute and kind of force Oregon into long drives, reduce their turnovers, and kind of keep the tempo in their favor, especially with that weather, like I said, it's going to be rainy and cold. Not going to be crazy to say that there's going to be an upset. So I've got the Hawkeyes.
I don't hate that. I was thinking before this, I think Iowa has a better chance of winning against Oregon than BYU does against Texas Tech.
Yeah.
Am I wrong? Like, probably. If I was right about stuff like that, then, I'd be winning some money off this. But I do like Iowa in this one, but Dante Moore's a dog. I think that big number 6 in front of Oregon, I think it's a little intimidating. I think, teams like that, they find way to wins. Dan Lanning, fantastic coach, finds way to wins. It's Iowa's losses this year. They lost to their rival in Iowa State early in the season, and then they lost by 5 to Indiana, which is less than what Oregon lost by, which was 10. So, I mean, a lot of things to keep an eye on. This definitely going to watch this game. It's going to be a good one. But I don't know. Oregon's coming off a pretty bad, in my opinion, bad win against Wisconsin. Only 14 points to that atrocious Wisconsin team. So it'll be an interesting one. That weather's pretty scary, but I do have Oregon coming away with it. I think it'll be close. I wouldn't not surprise me if Iowa covers, but I got Oregon.
Yeah. I don't really like picking against Oregon, but I didn't have an upset this week, and more times.
I mean, yeah, you got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Picking favorites is boring.
Right. So, all right. Last game here, Wesley. Alabama Crimson Tide versus the LSU Tigers. The spread's Alabama -10. It's just straight up -10. Like every site I looked at was -10. But anyway, I'm just gonna go ahead and throw it out there. I've got Alabama, obviously, the Alabama podcast. Kind of a bit of a shock there, yeah, I know. Kalen DeBoer is 15-2 off of a bye week. Kalen DeBoer can really get his teams ready to go off of a bye week, but on the flip side of that, I expect the most fight from LSU I've seen all year. They have nothing to lose. Their head coach is gone. They're not going to make the playoffs. They have nothing to lose. This game is not to be taken lightly at all. If anyone is out there thinking this is this is the generic coach got fired, season's over. No. Sometimes that's the case. Sometimes that is the case. But this Saturday, I don't think that's the case. LSU, they've got nothing to lose. They had a little disdain for the predecessor that just got fired, Brian Kelly. However, much love do they have for Frank Wilson, the interim coach, and so they're going to be ready to go for him. I think a little bit more than Brian Kelly, honestly. LSU they'll be ready to go. Make no mistake about that. But now, what does Alabama do about that? Like I said, get ready for a fastball at your chin, really, in this game, because I think LSU is going to come out, more prepared than expected. And the run defense and the run game is going to be the key here. Our run defense, they have to be better. We're ranked 73rd in run defense and like 112th in run offense. So have to be better on both sides of the ball. Running the football. Guys like Justin Jefferson, Nakai Hill-Green, Deontay Lawson, Landon Simmons, James Smith. I think those are guys that are going to need to step up on defense to kind of limit LSU's run game, because people have ran on us. They've ran on Alabama. Let's just be real about it. They've ran all over us. However, LSU hasn't ran the ball on anyone. We're ranked 112th in run offense, so they're ranked 124th. So I think whoever capitalizes on the other's weakness in the run game is going to determine the outcome Saturday. But also on the flip side of that, we have one of the best pass defenses in the country. So we need to create turnovers. Our secondary needs to be able to create turnovers. And I'm going to call it now, Wesley. When this happens, you can, if you want to give me money, you can. Completely up to you. A Keon Sabb interception is going to happen this game.
All right.
However, games are not won on paper. So key players really this week overall. Ty Simpson, obviously, he's going to have a great week. Continue to make great reads like he's been making. Latier Brooks, we're getting him back from he didn't play versus South Carolina. He was injured. Getting Isaiah Horton back. Those two guys are gonna be a big factor, key players this week. And then Keon Sabb, like I said, I think he's gonna play a big role. And then Deontay Lawson and Justin Jefferson, our two starting linebackers, they got to be better on cutback lanes and just overall tackling in general, especially in the run game. But that's all I've got, Wesley. I'm done yapping now. The floor is yours. Go ahead.
Yeah, so Engel, I hate doing this on your Alabama podcast, but I mean, I think I gotta. So I'm going Alabama on this one. I mean, at home, like we're not losing this game. Now, it's a little confident, but their interim head coach, he was the running backs coach.
Right.
Like you said, not a good running team. I mean, I know that doesn't mean too much, but it's one of those things. You got to think they picked him as because he's a locker room guy, which can pose a pretty big threat to us. But I think a lot of this game, is going to rely on you talking about our linebackers in the run game. I think it's a huge game for our DBs. Nussmeier has not had the year a lot of people expected, but at the end of the day, he's still Garrett Nussmeier, and still has that potential to pop off for 300 and a few tutties. So I think our DBs really got to focus in on this one, and they got to bring it in. Obviously, on the offense side of the ball, you were very run focused. I say we just got to keep letting Ty cook. I mean, it's working.
That is true.
He's playing great. He reads the defense like no one I've seen in a pretty long time. And so I just think we got to keep letting him go. But interim head coach, that is scary. Garrett Nussmeier, that is scary. But at the end of the day, Garrett Nuss, Danger Russ, free bus, Bama by 30.
I like it. All right. We're gonna take a preview of the standings before we close it out here. Blitz, Bama, Blitz, baby. Let's go. Our guest pickers, the standings so far, Wesley. You're at 5th with some question marks because obviously we haven't seen how you've done yet. We'll see how you stand amongst the ranks next week. Right now we got Jay Dobbs in first place. He went 7-1 last week. Moved Cole down to 14-4. And you got myself at 15-13. I'm just trying to stay above 500 at this point, honestly. And then we got Solomon Arnold at 4-3. So, not much of a high bar there, Wesley.
But not a huge great slate of games. These games I think are pretty good, but outside of that, only had six pretty good games to pick from. So
yeah,
hopefully I do well and I get a second appearance and get to keep wrapping that number up. So
all right, yeah, I like it. Like you said, not a lot of good games this week, but we did the best we could with what we had. You made some good points there. Your points and your rationally based perception. So I like it. So I'm I'll say this, Wesley. Don't tell anybody else this because they're probably not watching the video. But I've got high hopes for your picks this week. I think you might be the first undefeated, but we'll see.
I appreciate that. I do think either of us got a pretty good chance. I think that Oregon Iowa game is the biggest toss up there.
Right. But all right, we appreciate you being on. We know life's busy, so we appreciate you taking time out of your day to come on the podcast, talk a little football. We'll see how you stand at the end of the week. And thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next time.